Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcast.
G'day and welcome to an extra unreal edition of Thrash and Treasure, the torture chamber musical comedy podcast whose milkshake brings all the bears to the yard and they're like, damn, that shit is curdled. And speaking of curd, I'm Little Miss Muffet, but you can call me Aaron, and I'm joined as usual by my own little spider because I call him Daddy Long-Winded. He's also Evan the Metal Man. How's it going?
Yeah, good. You're really struggling without the baker puns, aren't you?
You just proved me right because it took you 30 seconds to get the response out. Now, apparently, you've got a mug that you're using that you put in the microwave like an absolute numpty. And also, we've established on this show that I ruined my beautiful Loki mug. So we've both ruined Marvel mugs.
Yep. On the day we got them.
Yeah, I got this replacement Mickey Mouse mug and pulled it out of the dishwasher and broke the freaking handle on me. I can't win.
You can't win.
I cannot win. But anyways, guess what?
What?
We have another legendary diva in the studio today. And thankfully, because us two stooges are about to meet a third, because this classic cult kid carved his course throughout pop culture with a colourful career creating comedic and clever characters that cut through our consciousness in a career that can't be contained. Much like Carl, the kid who went punk. Or Fred, the man who got away from the empty nest. And whilst the young and the restless are roomies in our house, Eamon, Eisenhower and Lutz await the return of Johnny Ryan in Paradise. And whilst these early roles rolled out a rolling roster of rollicking, recurring and guest spots on some of TV's biggest sitcoms, including The Michael J. Fox Show, Newhart, Sydney, Wings, Murphy Brown, Mad About You, Ally McBeal, and Getting Us Hot in Cleveland, it's no surprise to see this seriously slick sir surrender to arresting performances in Bodies of Evidence, Body of Proof, The Mentalist, Elementary, Boston Legal, Blue Bloods, The Blacklist, Damages, Unforgettable, The Good Wife, plus more and Law and Order, Special Franchise Unit in Law and Cop shows, but also Sex in the City, Unhitched, and Sex Life in copulation shows, which now makes this episode just that extra bit spicy. So we're oregano throw a huge Aussie g'day to this Broadway and Hollywood heartthrob, star of The Girl from North Country, who went runyon through NYC for Guys and Dolls, Rose for company, got us choked up as Queen Trunchbull in Matilda, plus got choked up when told thou shalt not, and all that happened after this gentleman went up a mountain but came down a hill for today's chosen Musicon, which heralded him a hefty helping of award nominations and wins, including People Magazine's Sexiest Broadway Star. So weak at the knees, we shoo-poop him through our torture chamber with a warm welcome to this incredible actor, singer, comedian, writer, and one of EW's 100 most creative it people, whatever that means, whose iconic film work commits only victimless crimes for the long kiss goodnight, because till there was you, I had only sour grapes that caused fear and loathing in Las Vegas on the 13th floor, because I'm with Lucy Dickey Roberts, former child star, a Cinderella Man stuck in a scary movie for your consideration. If you meet Bill, the change-up will be louder than words. But if I had wings, there'd be equity in this cat fight for fair market value. So before I go and punt myself into the madman of the people, it's my pride and joy because our really little show just got really unreal because he's a star so bright. Danielle Steele named a TV movie after him. So try not to go berserker because it's the one and only Mr. Craig Bierko. Welcome to the torture chamber. Holy guacamole, you're on my show. What?
Oh, that was incredible.
Thank you very much. I had to live up to Harold Hill there.
Yeah, bravo. Good Lord. Fantastic.
And now I need a nap.
Yeah, fantastic. As I hope your audience doesn't. Well, let's put them to sleep, shall we?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
I
reckon. But yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. And
yeah.
I know you guys are up in the middle of the night for me. You have night in Australia, right? I've never been. I want to come there but I've never been. And I have friends and I've worked with, you've placed people in every single show we have here. There's always an Australian person doing an American accent.
Yep.
And then you see them by the coffee and they're like, good night. And you're like, oh, really? I really want to do the mid-career, like just reveal. And because I don't do a great Australian accent. Nobody does. It's a tough accent.
Yeah, I was about to say, we don't accept Americans doing Australian accents very often.
Yeah, it's not good. The closest I've come, because I try to do it and I realize iPad and iPad are the same, pronounced the same. So you could say, did you get the new iPad? Well, they don't make the iPad anymore, but I have the iPad. Well, they don't make that anymore. That's the same pronunciation, right? iPad and iPod.
Yeah, we say iPad. Yeah.
But what do you call an iPod?
An iPod, yeah.
iPod.
iPod.
It sounds like iPad. It's very bad who's on first routine. You get the iPad? I'll take yeah.
I don't
I'll make
know.
him a move.
So we can't hear it. I hear the Aussie accent when it's recorded, and I hate it.
Oh, really?
That's why I lean into it for the introductions, because it's the only way I can hear my own voice if I know I'm doing a caricature of my accent. So it gets me through. But I'll tell you what, we always pop up in your shows. But if an American or a British actor dares come over here and take one of our jobs, our industry loses their shit about it because our industry is so tiny.
Yeah, as well they should.
Yeah. So
We only have 15 actors. They need jobs.
I like well, they're all over here. Cassandra Clemente? No, but she was on that show. Maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong, but she was on the show. What was it? It was kind of a soap opera and sort of a teen soap opera. I know she was surfing and she got her arm bitten off by a shark. Well, she was on the show Unreal. She played my girlfriend on the show Unreal, and she's great.
oh, did she? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, the Australians took over that show. Adam Damos.
Yep.
Is that a familiar name?
Yep.
Just worked with him again.
That name's familiar from Unreal, though, admittedly.
Yes, and he's doing there's a show on Netflix now, and I did the second season, which is going to air soon, called Sex Life. I'm in the life part.
Well, okay, we'll move on because I've got a question here. Thou shalt not. Is it true you got punched in the throat on opening night?
I don't think so. Did I?
Apparently, you got punched in the larynx, went to the opening night party, and then spent a week and a half off. And I would like to know, what percentage of that is professionalism and what percentage is the stubbornness of an actor that you continued on and soldiered on through that night?
Well, I honestly have no memory of that. I have no memory of it.
It's Wikipedia, so it may not be true.
It may not be true, but I will tell you that the woman who directed that was a woman named Susan Stroman.
Yep.
And she's the one who was behind the producers and very, very talented woman. And she directed me in the previous revival of The Music Man in 2000. Yep. The newest one stars your countryman Hugh Jackman. But I did it in 2000, and Susan Stroman directed it. And I remember during previews, I twisted my ankle.
Okay.
There's a library sequence, and I had to slide down a pole, and I turned my ankle. I couldn't stand on it, and there's a lot of dancing and moving in the show, and I just said, well, I can't do it. And she said, well, you have to, because all the critics are coming during previews.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I was hopping. I don't know what to tell you. And one of the dancers came out, and he opened his hand, and he had 6 Advil, and he just went, welcome to Broadway. And I took them, and I felt fine. That was it. So if I did get punched in the larynx, unless they punctured the skin and went through the throat, I knew that I was working for Susan Stroman.
Yep.
And you show up. And I kind of like that. So I like to think if that happens, it sounds vaguely familiar, as does much of my life.
Maybe there was a concussion along with the sore throat.
I don't think so.
It's not on your page.
It's really strange.
It's on the Thou Shalt Not Wikipedia page.
Oh, I'll check that out.
That's why I'm asking about it, because is it true, or is this another bloody Wikipedia monkeys with keyboards deal?
It sounds like I don't know. I'm trying to think if I know somebody that I can call from the show. I probably do. I'll check it out. It sounds vaguely familiar. And quite frankly, that show, if I could have washed the experience out, not that I didn't like the people, I love the people, but we shouldn't have. We did, but we shouldn't have.
Yeah.
It was a strange time. It was sort of based on Therese Raquin, which was turned into The Postman Always Rings Twice.
Yep.
Did you ever see that movie with Jack Nicholson and Jessica Lange?
I've meant to watch it, but no, I haven't.
A long
yet.
time ago, yeah.
I actually never saw it. A married woman is having an affair, and we decide to kill her gimpy husband. That was basically it. Lovely idea for a musical. And when we were doing it, the reason I did it was Susan Stroman was directing it, and also
Harry Connick Jr.
There was this Harry Connick Jr. wrote the music. I liked him a lot. Although I was constantly like, why aren't you doing this? Why don't you do this? Well, man, I just want to play the music. I just want to write, man. Great guy. But he didn't want to perform in it. So I did it. The greatest thing about it was there was this big production number. We kill her husband, and then we have to go to the morgue, and I do this big production number, huge big band number with all these bodies in the morgue. We're just wheeling all these bloody bodies by, and it was really surreal. And then 9/11 happened.
That's right. Yeah.
And I got to do it one night, and they were like, "Yeah, we can't do this."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Timing is everything. I say this on the show.
Yeah.
Is there a flop, or is there a bad show, or is there just poor timing?
Timing is everything.
Well, there goes my segue, because I was going to say, while on sore throats, we'll move on to metal. So if you were a rock star, what would be in your dream rider, your craziest, most over-the-top rider? So anything you want.
Like stewardesses from, I'd like a time machine and go back to like the late 70s. No, early 70s, late 60s, and get what they used to call stewardesses. Now they call flight attendants, stewardesses with the frosted blonde hair.
And the Pan Am. Yep.
Yes. And the Angie Dickinson, like white lipstick.
There you go. A constant showing of Catch Me If You Can.
Yes. Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
There you go.
I wish curves would come back. I like curves.
Yeah. I'm skinny, and I've said it a lot of time. It's awkward. It's not nice. It's not pretty. And I don't get why the media boosts it up so much, because I don't look human. I've been in a bar and some guys said I look like E.T. So,
Evan, do you feel Aaron is not pretty?
no, I'd say it's not pretty. I know I'm pretty. I know my place.
Okay, good. I don't want you to get into a loop here. Don't get into a bad loop.
I don't know. I've seen more than just the head and the shoulders. There's not a lot there.
Oh, I don't know where to look now. I don't know where to look.
And I lost half my shoulder last night with the puppy. Bloody hell. Anyways.
Just touching back on curves, there was a lot of corsets going on then too, wasn't there?
Corsets are great.
That was long before.
Stockings.
Yeah, if you had to wear one.
Back then, curves were in. It was to accentuate the curves of the hips and the bosom. That's why the corsets were worn. That's why those big dresses were worn, because being a bit bigger and not bloody stick thin was in, and it was cool. Anyways,
that's right.
I'm gonna get worked up about it. So let's move on. Have you had any experience with heavy metal over the years?
I think I tried to, as a kid. I'm old, so it wasn't retro, like in real time. Kiss was pretty big when I was in the 7th grade, which is for us would be like, you're basically entering the tragic period of adolescence, where your body just completely goes haywire as it boots up. That God's horrible trick, which is your whole system boots up and you begin to look at the opposite sex. At the same time, you're riddled with acne and oils, and it's everything chemically is just going wrong. It's like a fireworks show. But I remember everybody started listening to Kiss, and I started listening to Kiss, and I couldn't. That was pretty much as heavy as I got. And it took a lot of work. I bought all the albums. We had a store called Corvettes. It's no longer there. Bought all the actual albums, and I think a couple of songs I liked Kiss Destroyer. I liked Detroit Rock City. If they got a good riff, is a good riff, and then if you can hang it on something as powerful as metal, I like it. I think the first time I ever have any memory of hearing anything that sounded even remotely like metal. This is really goofy, but my brother is 2 years older, so he was discovering music before I did, and I would hear next time I heard like dance, so it was Jesus Christ Superstar. I know it's not metal, but it sounded dark to me. And the Monkees made a movie called Head, did you ever see it? The movie Head?
No. What type of movie was that? Because that doesn't sound like a family-friendly movie.
No, as a matter of fact, Jack Nicholson wrote it.
Oh,
he hadn't yet made it as an actor, and he was just kind of jobbing around as a writer. And he'd written a movie called The Trip, which was a jug movie. So this was around 1960. He wrote that in like 1965, 66. And the Monkees had gone for 2 years. They were heading off the air. They wanted to do a Monkees movie, which would have essentially been like the TV show. They didn't want to do that. And the director and the creator of the show was this guy, Bob Rafelson, who went on to do 5 Easy Pieces. He went on to shepherd Nicholson into becoming like a movie star. That whole movie with Nicholson where he's like, I'd like a chicken salad sandwich.
Yeah, rings a bell.
There's this whole it's iconic. It's really great. And anyway, he wrote the script, and there's a song in it called Circle Sky. And I remember here, this was back in the day, so there was no video, there was no way to access the movie, but I had the album. And it didn't sound anything like the Monkees. I was just a little kid, listening to his Monkees albums, and this thing comes on, and it's kind of dark. It's a great album. But it doesn't sound like them. They just went for it. In the first 5 minutes of the movie, which is nuts, it doesn't really work, but they went for it. They kill themselves.
Oh.
They jump off a bridge and kill themselves. And the whole thing is about how they try to kill themselves. They jump off this bridge, and then they end up back in the monkey house, where all the show was. And they're just on a loop. They were basically it's kind of hip, making a comment on themselves that they're fucked.
Yeah.
Can I say Ken?
Sure.
Yep.
So they're kind of screwed because they're monkeys, and they had like a great 2 years, big pop stars, but they're sort of the joke of the industry. And they predicted that we're just going to be on this loop. It's just going to be over and over. And they end up running back up on the bridge again and jumping off again. And it's just an endless loop of killing themselves, being miserable. That's the Monkees. And it doesn't work. It's a great idea, but it begins after that first scene when they jump off. You're like, this is great. Oh, it's not great.
No.
And it's just, they wanted to have it both ways. Yeah, they tried to be funny, but what they were trying to do was to legitimize themselves, so they wouldn't be like Mickey and Mike and Davey and Pete. They'd be them, and they could kill their TV personas. That's what they were trying to do.
Wow, I'm gonna have to check that out. I've never heard of that before.
It's kind of, I would call it like pre-punk.
Yeah.
And weirdly, at the end of the 60s, it was the most rock and roll thing anybody had ever done. I mean, if you look at it, like Rolling Stones stayed together, and now they charge like $500 if you want to sit up front. The Beatles, didn't make it. It was just sort of, and the Monkees were still there, and they just died off. Now it's just Mickey. And I don't know. I thought it was really kind of cool that they did that. It's kind of pre-punk. That's what I call it, because the music wasn't for kids.
Yeah.
And the overtone of the movie is kind of dark. And the reason they called it Head was so that if there was a sequel, they could say, from the people who gave you Head.
Oh, that is wonderful. Oh, wow. I want a poster, a one sheet of that.
Yeah, that's your adult Monkees moment.
Well, on that note, and especially that's because obviously we don't screen our guests. We surprise you guys with questions and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I had no idea you were going to pull out this loop of a story, because that kind of plays into my review.
Very long, boring story.
No, that's Evan's job.
No.
Anyways, I'm going to quickly run through my review, because
I never get a word in.
I picked the album this week, and I picked Primus's Frizzle Fry, which I'll explain in my review why I picked it, but this all connects up. So anyways, when I first decided to redo Primus, it was out of pity for Evan, and really only picked this album because Frizzle Fry sounds like it came from the Music Man. So I pressed play on the 19-minute opening track and found this number to be rather darker than the Primus I've come to know after one other album, because now I'm apparently an expert. But when the second track, Groundhog Day, started, I was worried it'd just be a repeat of the one that came before it. But when the second track, Groundhog Day, started, I was worried it'd just be a repeat of the one that came before it. But when the second track, Groundhog Day, started, I was worried it'd just be a repeat of the one that came before it. And I was also kicking myself for not waiting until we actually did Groundhog Day, the musical. Bugger. But then track 3 started and everything turned cold. Too many puppies? How very dare you? No such thing. -3 stars. Mr. Know-It-All sounded something like my parents would call me. Rude. Minus another star. But as the album rolled on in Primus's uniquely topsy-turvy way, I wondered if this perhaps was the wrong choice to juxtapose against the Music Man, as the band haven't yet seemed to wholly lean into that redneck rabble-rouser rhythm I heard in Pork Soda. Here I can hear them dipping their toes in what are ultimately darker, less fun, but no less compelling tracks, which have each added a star, granted, taking them to at least a 2 stars overall. But then someone catches my eye. Harold on the Rocks. Because before he was Harold of the Hill, he was Harold of the Rocks. Good work, me. 3.5 stars. So I kind of liked it. It just wasn't as fun as I thought Pork Soda was, which also had that darkness to it, but there was also a real fun quality to it. Here, I thought they were just very serious. They wanted to be taken seriously as a band, and you heard that in the music because obviously you got this sort of redneck, swampy type of feel to their music, and that's very easy for audiences to turn away and record companies obviously to slam the door on them. So it did feel like this was their way of making their mark, was to show that they're serious musicians, and it made their songs a bit darker and less fun than their sophomore effort where they do get to actually
this was really the first album. They did an EP called Suck on This, and they used the money from that to fund this album. So it really is the first album. And I think Too Many Puppies obviously is about
awful name. I'm so heartbroken.
It's about the military. It's too many kids getting killed in wars.
Oh, well, I don't listen to lyrics, Evan. You know this. I look at song titles and judge a book on its cover.
He's not a dog hater, is what I'm saying. That's also the first song he ever wrote, funnily enough.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I didn't know that because it's your job to tell me these things. But yeah, no, I didn't hate it. Obviously, I wasn't. Look, I hate this expression. Well, no, I don't hate this expression. When you say I wasn't really a fan of something, the reaction is, oh, you hated it. No, I didn't hate it. I'm just not putting the posters on my wall and going out and buying every record and buying a ticket to the concert. It was good, but I wasn't a fan of it. Like I'm not going to be sitting there screaming in an audience. Like people, we need to sort these criticisms out, because just because you didn't like something or love something doesn't make you a hater anyway. So I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it like I wanted to, because I really did enjoy Pork Soda.
Oh, good.
I enjoy the title. I could just savor that for a while.
Yeah.
Hit it. I'll go close the door. It is freezing out here. It's like 9 degrees.
Is it?
Yeah.
I think it's warmer in Melbourne at the moment.
Well, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
No, it's about, it's not warm.
No.
It's not warm.
No.
Yeah. Pork Soda kills me. That's hilarious. Is that what you said? Pork Soda?
Pork Soda. Yes.
That's is it their second album?
The second, yes. Yeah,
Oh,
second
okay.
studio album, yeah.
Yeah.
Which we covered previously months ago.
You weren't here. Evan was in hospital for it. So that's what that joke was about, out of pity.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he was so excited to do Primus. I didn't even tell him this week we were doing it, because I knew he would be a puppy about it and piss all over the floor and just have too much information to say. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, wait. Harold of the Rocks. That's the one that makes more. Oh, that's 6 minutes too.
Yeah.
Is there any crossover?
No, it's just I think a tale about a friend. Basically, it's another character. That's why I thought you'd really enjoy this album, because it is littered with those character songs.
Well, yeah.
Where they just sort of make up crazy characters.
Yeah, I like that. It's just thought it wasn't as fun. That's all.
Just today, Googling Primus again, and someone posted a video like 6 hours ago. They had Matt Parker and Trey Stone on stage singing the South Park theme with Primus.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was awesome. Yeah, and they were telling the story how they recorded it in half speed. Basically, well, they originally did it in half time, and the creators South Park came back and sort of went, they want it like twice as fast.
Yeah,
and they're on tour, and they're going, can you re-record the song? And they're like, oh, hell no, just speed it up. So they did.
Yeah, video clips that you see in slow motion are usually done really fast, and then they slow it down.
I'm able to play share play. I don't want to share.
Bloody record companies. It's funny that someone like Sony will give us the equipment to burn CDs and then tell us don't burn CDs.
That's right.
Tell us not to. Yeah,
that's right.
Why are you selling us the fucking equipment then, you assholes? Goodness me.
For data backup, obviously.
They know what people are going to do with it. People are not stupid.
It's just so Music Man.
It is, isn't it? So it was a fluke, an absolute fluke, Craig. It was just like in the middle of the night. All right, we'll go with that one. It sounds like something Harold Hill would say, Frizzle Fry.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, sounds like it's out of trouble.
Yeah,
that's pretty great. What's your favorite metal band?
Primus. Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen them pretty much every time they've come into the country. So it's only about 5 times.
Only.
But yeah,
How old were you when you started listening?
yeah, it would have been sort of middle high school. So 14, 15.
That makes sense. Do you think it's possible for somebody like my age, like to, if they, I don't know, I never really listened to metal, never really thought about it too much, just wasn't. But do you think it's possible for, because it's so much like, it seems to evoke like all that stuff that you're going through in high school. It sort of captures that raw kind of rage and confusion. And, you know, it's,
Yeah.
do you think it's possible later in life to discover it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you?
sure.
I found out that my mom's maiden name, my grandfather's name, is hilarious. That's not their name, but it's hilarious. And I always tell people, if you can guess it, I'll give you $1 million. You know, nobody would ever be able to guess it because their last name is Distillator. So I'm looking online to see if there are any distillators. It sounds like blender. It's like having the last name Blender, some appliance, you know? So I'm looking for other distillators online just to see if they're, you know, where this name comes from. And I discovered a heavy metal band called Distillator. Do you know them?
No, but it
No.
sounds right.
It's hilarious that like
Yeah.
with my Nana, but with that sort of gothic writing,
Yep.
Distillator, you know?
Yep.
And I got t-shirts, but I got it sent to the wrong address, but I got t-shirts for the families. Anyway, I should have told you that should be we could have all discovered Distillator together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising you're saying, you know, not having that much exposure to metal, and I've been hearing it a lot through guests where, yeah, I don't understand how you could have avoided it. The radio stations in Australia, like with every, you know, third or fourth song will be pretty heavy.
No, it wasn't avoiding it.
We go through this with me every week, Evan, that I grew up
You can't avoid it.
with Metallica and Guns N' Roses, but then there are still songs and still bands and stuff that I had no clue about and have just totally got, like Ozzy Osbourne.
So what is the difference between, there's different kinds of metal, like it gets really intense, right? But so what's the difference? What are the different kinds?
Oh, it's a huge list. I mean, there's groove metal, speed metal, metalcore,
Right.
like you said, black metal, death metal,
Proto metal, I invented that one.
proto metal.
Yeah.
Did I say groove metal?
Yep, funk rock. I said that, you denied it existed, and Wikipedia proved me right.
I denied it was a genre.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, there's every melodic metal. There's so many. It's every subgenre you can think of. What was the
Glam rock.
There's operatic metal.
Yep.
There's, you name it. There's literally, you know, these really hardcore metal bands that are just heavy as hell with like an opera singer up front.
Right.
Yeah.
It's really different.
Very theatrical.
Yeah, there's so many different subgenres. As long as it's loud and heavy,
Yeah.
it'll qualify.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's a certain hatefulness in there.
Yeah.
I hate myself. I need a hug. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that's what it seems like. It seems, you know, punk, it sounds to my ear like punk seems to be like a stripped down version of that. Or different, I know there are different kinds of punk, but I'd say like the Sex Pistols. They wanted to kill rock and roll.
Yeah.
So
it was more political with punk. Yeah.
but music wise, it just seemed to be like just more like, you know, kind of dark and powerful, but less of a full sound.
Yeah. 3 chords. Yeah. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 chords, 3 instruments. That's punk.
Right.
Unfortunately, you were listening to Primus through a phone, which
That's not the way I can appreciate that.
it's the bass. You've got to have, you know, a decent subwoofer to really appreciate Les Claypool's playing.
Yeah.
He's one of the best bass players in the world, and some of the tones he hits it's just incredible.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
goes nuts on this 6-string fretless electric upright bass played with a bow, and it just rumbles the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're amazing live.
They're very percussive in their music. The drummer is very percussive. There's so many interesting rhythms, like topsy-turvy.
I'd love to find my way in. It wasn't like we don't have exposure to it. We definitely did. I just remember like hearing my brother playing even the Rolling Stones when I was a kid. And I was just, my ear went towards like brighter major sounds, melody, you know. That's why it's like melody metal sounds really interesting to me, like what that might be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all going to be metal at the end of the day. I don't know. It'd be interesting. You know, I'm sure my ear is already prejudiced to whatever the environment was or the kids who were listening to it, you know.
But, and then to turn the question completely around, you know, I'm, what am I, 46, and I'm having to appreciate musicals in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm listening to all manner of crazy stuff like Falsetto Land and
Yep.
and yeah, appreciating, you know, orchestrations and arrangements. And yeah, so I listened to pretty much heavy music my entire life, and now I'm listening to musicals.
And so now you're hearing stuff that's melody and character driven.
Yeah, and looking forward to Frozen the musical. We're going to go and see that. And
okay, I've never seen that.
Yeah, I'll be singing along because I know all the songs. I've heard the album like 15 times by now.
Do you enjoy it, or is it torturous for you?
Yeah, some of them are painful, and I really don't want to listen to them again. But I know I have to put it on again. But yeah, there's some musicals I will still that we've reviewed, and I will still put on random songs from.
Yeah, cool.
You know, just in the car. You know, like things from Spring Awakening.
Right.
Oh, and everybody's talking about Jamie.
I don't know that one.
That's a British one, yeah.
Yeah, it's a British one. Yeah, there's some really good songs in that.
This one I just did.
North Country?
Yeah. You guys had a production of that?
Yes, it was just in Melbourne. I don't know if it still is.
Okay. I saw it in the UK when it first came out. It didn't hit me. It was Dylan music. Never been a huge Dylan fan just because I couldn't find my way in. It was the same thing. I got offered the musical here. Some guy left the show after the pandemic, and they've been trying to open it for like 3 years on Broadway, and they finally got it open. Very strange play. It was hard to figure. A lot of it didn't make sense. But it does in the way that life makes sense. Things don't necessarily add up, but you end up recognizing the people. It's sort of a tragic situation. It takes place during the Depression, and it's all Dylan music. So it's in the 30s, but it's all Dylan music. And then we're not even singing necessarily about what it is that we're going through. So, and I was like, well, this is strange. And I remember not really getting it, but I had seen a play that afternoon. It was too much, you know? So I started working on it, and people go nuts over this thing because it's a beautiful play. It's written by this guy, Connor McPherson, wonderful playwright, and it's Dylan music. And for some reason, I can't even explain it. It all adds up by the end. Everything adds up, and it's a complete theatrical experience. It's very moving. I would recommend that one too. It doesn't feel like you're listening to a musical. I mean, when I listened to I grew up watching them, and my parents had all the albums. And I think it's wherever you discover this stuff. Like if you see the show, then it's a great touchstone, obviously, and you can listen to that music. I was never, for some reason, never really a big Springsteen fan, but we have a theater company here that I saw as a kid, made me want to be an actor. The Steppenwolf Theater Company. That's where Malkovich comes from, and a lot of great actors.
Sinise, yeah.
Yeah, Gary Sinise. And I saw this production called Bomb in Gilead, and Gary Sinise like raises his hand. They're all like street, people, and it's really gritty, really moving play. And he lifts his hand, and all of a sudden Springsteen just shoots out. It's I can't even remember which song it was. Born to Run. It was Born to Run. So I hear that play, and I connect it to that play and that experience of being thrilled in a theater. And that song is great. There's some Tom Waits music in it. It's just a different level because I'm tying it to that experience. That's why I wonder if your love of metal, like if I had discovered that in high school, or if it was like the first time you have that, first kiss or something like that, that's the music that you're listening to. Like it's representative, and that's what music does for me.
Yeah. And
I find that I don't like listening to show music if I haven't seen the show. It feels kind of pale. It's supposed to be a whole, a complete experience. You're really only listening to part of it. I mean, there are musicals that I think where the songs can stand on their own, but and I haven't heard Frozen. And it's hilarious to me that we were just listening to this song and you're listening to Frozen. I can't believe that trajectory is, I can't even imagine it. Yeah. I mean, that's mind-bending. That's mind-bending.
That was the first episode we did, was Frozen. The first episode that Evan was in. It wasn't the first one we recorded with him, but it was the first that aired. And we just had on one of the cast members. So I'm so proud, though, and so excited for him, because that'll be his first big professional musical. So whilst it is Frozen, a lot of people will groan at that. He gets that big musical experience. He gets that blow you away experience, and I'm very excited for him. So that'll be happening.
Yeah. If something's well done, if it's well put together, you can appreciate it. You doesn't have to be your favorite thing, but like stages, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's kind of a special zone. When they nail it, it's great.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
you,
it.
you don't even have to be a fan of that particular show. If it's well directed and sort of seamless, you can appreciate it for what it is. You know,
Yeah.
I feel the same way about metal. Like if, although I'm trying to think of, no, it would have to be in the right context. If it adds to whatever it is I'm watching, or if the band is really, you know, exciting to watch. You know, if there's a reason to go to the show other than to, you know, feel all of my organs vibrating in my body,
Yeah.
it isn't so bad.
Yeah.
But if something to connect to, so that, you know, when you go back and listen to the albums, you kind of have, oh man, like it means something. I'm sure you go back to your childhood in some elemental way.
Yeah.
As you said, the same difference between, there's many bands that we called shoegazers. They're just leaning over the guitars, staring at their shoes.
Yeah.
As opposed to, putting on a show. Like Muse is one of the best shows I've ever seen.
Right.
They just go all out.
Did it inspire you?
Well, no.
That was a joke,
Inspire?
Evan. The band is Muse.
Muse.
Oh, yeah. Well, it kind of
right.
does, because I see what's going on stage. I want to be
Yeah.
I want to be backstage building that.
Yeah.
Is what I want to be doing. I want to be organizing 48 screens to all show stock tickers in real time. Like, who does that? That could have been pre-recorded. No, it was live. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, they really went above and beyond.
That's great. That's awesome.
Iron Maiden are very much like that as well. They put on a massive show with all the costumes and pyrotechnics and planes flying over, and they go nuts.
Is that Bruce Dickinson?
Yeah, Bruce Dickinson.
I got it right. Finally. I can hear our audience cheering all around the world right now.
Bring it back to Primus. They put on a show. They'll dress up and do sets. And like I said, the clip I saw today was the stage was actually set up like South Park, and they had all the snowy trees and the houses in the background. And
oh, fun!
Yeah, it looked awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they put a show.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, anyways, we'll move on because it looks like Frizzle Fry has fizzled out. We're going to fly to an ad break.
Bye.
All right. That wasn't as thrilling as I thought it would be.
Hey there! It's time to get popped on Culture, the official Puzzle Hub pop quiz podcast. And welcome to game number 5. I'm your new host, Matt Young, and for today's special theme, we're going to test your knowledge on musical groups, including bands, boy bands, girl groups, and vocal ensembles. Play against your friends or the clock and see how you go. Alright, let's get into it, shall we? Game 1. Songs in the key of words. I'm going to give you 3 key words that appear within 8 different songs. Pretty simple. If you guess the song correctly on the first keyword, give yourself 3 points. If you guess it on the second, give yourself 2 points, which of course means give yourself 1 for guessing it on the third and final keyword. So let's see how you go. Ready? First clue. Fantasy. Landslide. Reality. That was Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Second clue. Lights. Carrie. Home. Of course, that's All the Small Things by Blink-182. Next up, Valentino. Crystal. Italian. That's right, it was Manic Monday by the Bangles. I was kissing Valentino by a crystal blue Italian stream. Alrighty, fourth, picked, bunch, glance. I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. How are you going so far? Next up, lady, glitters, buying. Have a Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. Lonely, gazing, window. That one was a little bit hard for me, but that was Waterfalls by TLC. Here's our 7th clue. Walked, smile, cool. Of course, that was Stop by Spice Girls. And lastly, honey, bees, envy. My Girl by The Temptations. And time's up. How did you go in that round? And be sure to check out our other shows on the Bloop Network, especially Thrash and Treasure, where you'll hear incredible interviews with genuine icons of stage and screen. So until the next game, I've been Matt, you've been Popped on Culture, and I shall see you next time. See ya!
Anyways, we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Evan, and we are joined by the brilliant Craig Bierko. Holy guacamole. Now, I know Evan is very excited to ask you about this because you did the attempt at Red Dwarf.
Oh, man.
Still infamous to this day to Red Dwarf fans.
Yeah.
Do you have an apology to them all?
No, as a matter of fact.
I'm kidding.
Oh my God.
No. I totally get it. I'm in on the joke. I totally get it. It was a fail.
Yeah.
Did not work. But the thing I will say is that I knew it. I watched the show. I watched the original Red Dwarf. So when I knew that when I found out that they, NBC did it and they wanted me to do this, I just watched the show and I thought I shouldn't be playing that guy. But that's very American. They'll take a role that should have been, it should have been like a young John Belushi or something like that. It should have been Chris Farley, but that wouldn't have saved because the script wasn't very good. And the reason the script wasn't good was because it was so British. And we had the original Crichton. He came over and did it. Robert Llewellyn, who's brilliant. It didn't work. Ultimately, I think the cast ended up being pretty good, but the writing was not great. And I suggested, look, because it wasn't working. I said, why don't you bring the British guys over and have them do it? Which they did. And the British guys came over. Now that show was already like a big hit, or I guess it was sort of an underground hit, but it had a massive following, and NBC kept taking what was working and American TVizing it, which was like spraying it with unfunny, and that's what happened. It just wasn't funny. We did 2 goes at it. We took 2 swings at it. So cut to a couple of years ago, it's like, what is it? Like the 20th anniversary or 25th, whatever it was. And I was with my girlfriend at the time in Turkey. And I got this email saying, if you want to say hi, make a little video clip, and I think they were sort of like, if you want to, I don't know if this is a bad. And I was like, no, I love the fact that I follow I'm a fan of the show, not ours. And I secretly love the fact that I have this connection to the show in that we made a horrible version of it, like a big, loud American bad version of it. It's unwatchable. They wanted me to make a little video for some convention that they were having. And I just introduced myself. I said, I get it. And if you hate me, I'm fine with that. But I love the fact that I'm part of this family, even if I had to sneak in through the back door like this, because I'm a fan. That's the way I feel. I have a lot of affection for that show. And I've begged the producers ever since we did it, please bring me on the British version, bring the cast on and kill us.
Great idea.
A piano fall on your head.
Yeah, something like that. Anything.
Evan said to me the other day he knows what the problem was.
Yeah, it was basically exactly as you said. I was Googling you and found that you were in the pilot, and I saw it way back when there's a grainy copy out there.
Yeah. I have a good copy of it. I can send it to you.
Oh, nice.
But I don't think it's not going to save it. It's good that it was obscured. I think it's good for you.
I often use it as an example of why a lot of American adaptations just didn't work. Why The Office worked and Red Dwarf didn't. The Office was rewritten for Americans and the right casting.
Yes, right casting, but the writers also understood, and the studio backed them up too, but they understood the tone. If they had gotten the tone of the show right, I think it would have been fine, because some of the jokes were brilliant. Like Crichton has been ahead on a shelf for 2 million years, and I come out of stasis. Like it was the same pilot. And I said, have you been conscious for 2 million years? And he said, yes, I've been reading that fire exit sign. It's given me a lot of comfort over the years. I just thought the man's been staring at a fire exit sign, reading it for 2 million years, and he was fine. It's delightful for him. That to me was like a joke's a joke. But it was the direction, and it was kind of plotting, and it sort of looked cheap, which is really likable with the British version, but didn't help us for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if it was something that, and I think it was also just at the time. I mean, there is a history. I mean, a lot of our great shows, like Sanford and Son, All in the Family, is one of the great American shows. Those are both based on British shows. So, I mean, we have a history of pilfering, but yeah, this one it didn't work.
Yes, you do. Even from us. Yeah.
Oh man, I love Australian TV.
I do.
There's some great comedy there. Yeah, I know. There's probably some real junk like everywhere else, but I love some of the older stuff.
Oh, there's nothing at the moment but fucking reality.
Oh, it's all
Goodness me. There's like 3 scripted shows.
I think that's happened all over the place.
Older Australian comedy, I'm thinking Mother and Son.
Mother and Son, yes.
Oh, I
Ruth
love that
Cracknell and Gary McDonald.
What is that from? Mother and Son.
Mother and Son, an old Australian show, is
classic Australian comedy. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've told the story of I saw Ruth Cracknell in Lost in Yonkers.
That's right. Yeah, you did.
Oh,
gee, she was brilliant.
It's like a middle-aged son and his mother, and they live together, and she's just an old biddy, and
that's great.
Makes life so.
She's sort of on her way to dementia, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Okay, that's funny.
So yeah, an Australian sitcom, really.
There was a show that it's actually, I think it's from like the 70s. Don Lake. He was an American guy who came over there.
Don Lane, yeah.
Don Lane
show. Yep.
That's sort of like old timey, but you can get it on YouTube. I'll just put on Australian TV. Yeah, you just find something. I do that with British TV all the time, which I just love. I love like Morecambe and Wise. Do you remember the old? Any of these? They're way before my time too.
Yeah.
But they're great. They're really charming.
The two Ronnies.
Yeah.
Two Ronnies, hilarious. Yeah, I love that stuff. And then the great stuff like Faulty Towers, obviously Monty Python. I mean, that was life changing.
But did you hear that because of the British summer, Rowan Atkinson's now changed the character to Mr. Baked Bean? Anyways.
Well, what is it? Oh, that's right. Yeah. We're flying into the sun. We're winging headlong into the sun.
We are, thankfully.
Yeah.
Got to get rid of us all.
It's enough.
Anyways, we're going to move on from Harold on the Rocks to Harold on the Hill. Oh, I ruined my segue in my review. I completely forgot that. We're going to do The Music Man, which was your Broadway debut. Classic, one of the greatest American musicals. So we'll see what Evan thought.
Let's see if it is.
We did the original Broadway cast recording. They didn't record your production, did they?
They did.
Oh, they did. Oh,
they did. I can get you a copy. I think do you have Spotify?
It's not on there. Well, I couldn't see it on there. No.
Should be. Maybe they took it off when the Hugh Jackman one came out. I don't know, but we did make one. It's good.
And in terms of you being an artist on there, you're not. So any cast recording that you are on, you're not popping up as being credited on.
That's how they tell you.
Yep.
Okay.
We run into this sort of thing all the time with our guests, and
yeah,
I'll find it somehow. I know I have a couple of like analog discs, old timey, like old wax cylinders. Yeah. But have at it.
No album there that's the 2000 cast. There's a couple of versions of the movie cast.
All right, maybe I can find it.
And then it goes into like The Boy from Oz, Dogman, The Amazing Spider-Man, Chicago, The Greatest Showman. What?
There you go.
These are just things with man in the title. That's all you're doing. You're just giving me men.
Yeah.
Now you give me men, not when I ask for them. Anyways.
Go ahead. So you're reviewing the album. You're reviewing the original cast album. Okay.
Kind of, yeah. I listen to it as a musical album. Generally, that's what I do every week. I will just put it on blindly without knowing anything about it. And just see what I think about it. Yeah, I'm surprised actually. I did know a couple of these songs. Funnily enough, like Shapoopy. I only know from Family Guy.
Yep.
Right.
She did the full number. And it was the whole joke that they're going all in and doing the full bloody number in that. Yeah, I remember that.
Wow.
Yeah. And I swear I've heard 76 Trombones before somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
You would have.
Right.
Definitely.
And this seems to be a lot like Hello Dolly type territory where it just keeps coming back and it keeps getting revived. But, it's a very dated story. Period piece.
A con man comes to town. That's not dated at all. Look around at the world, Evan.
Yeah, our country's being eaten alive. Our country's literally living it.
Yeah, they've had to change a few things though in the revivals just so it's not quite so sexist.
They had to change this new one. Yeah, we didn't change a word. The whole world has changed since we did it. I heard about it. I haven't seen this production.
You don't have $700 spare?
It's ridiculous. Well, that is ridiculous. That's ridiculous how much they charge. But I did hear that they made all these changes. I don't get it. I don't get it.
No, I don't get it either. And to soften the art is a comment on the time. The Music Man, created in 1950, is a comment on the 1950s done through the 1910s.
Right.
So they're commenting on a time using a device. It is no point looking at that art and saying, well, this is sexist. Look at the fucking times. Judge the times. The art is commenting on the times. Once you start painting over the art, fuck off. Seriously, fuck off. Fuck right off. Seriously. Like that, who did that painted over a painting recently? Like that should show where we are. We've gone from marveling over cave paintings, going, oh my God, this is amazing art. This is historic, to suddenly painting over people's art, to suddenly walking out of a theater because there was a gay character in there and your individuality doesn't allow a gay character in your life. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck right off. Stop telling artists how to art. Anyway, sorry, Craig, I just got worked up.
No. I feel this. I find this to be really interesting. And I was just talking to a friend of mine on the phone about this. You enter the market just like everybody else. If people don't come to see the play, also, your marketing plays to people who, I'm sorry, but $700 a ticket, when it's like, do we pay rent this month or do we go to see a play for 3 hours? The state of the theater here is, it's unfortunately, it caters to people who are really well moneyed. So it's great. Everybody should be represented, but it's going to mean that everything's going to flip over and everything's going to have to right itself. Yeah. We're going to have to go through a period of change, also a period of failure. Like a lot of these shows, some of them are doing really well, but by and large, most of them aren't.
No. And that's the nature of the beast already.
If a show is well done, like you'll enjoy Frozen if it's well done. And you won't sit there thinking, I'm enjoying a show written for 12-year-old girls, you know? But if it's the fact of the matter is, the Music Man, it's family entertainment. It's kind of wholesome. And it sort of reflects a kind of darkness that's actually in the world. But it's not dark. There's not a single dirty word. I mean, it's very, very pure. When they took Shapoopy and they sort of made it, you know.
Did they take out hussy?
It was already like, grab your girl and something hussy. And it's like gently, you know, ask her if she wants to dance. You got to ask. You can't just grab some. I don't know. Stuff like that makes me nuts.
Yeah. It's the Music Man is commenting on a time. Don't judge the art, people. Stop it.
It wouldn't do that with To Be or Not to Be. Ooh, that's going to be triggering for people who've maybe to be, you know, to go into a well-lit room or not. Maybe that should be what it is, you know. But suicide, that's dangerous. A lot of kids out there, you know. It's it's just stupid.
Yeah, it's getting bad. To bring that up with suicide, if you watch a lot of YouTube, like they won't even bleep it out anymore. They just blanket. Like if you put that word in your video, you're going to get demonetized.
They have to be really careful. Everything disappears.
You know, they take down videos about, you know, where someone's literally doing, say, a news article on someone's suicide, and that'll get either demonetized or taken down. It's getting really bad. The censorship on YouTube is getting quite horrendous. But it's self-censorship, because everyone knows that if I talk about this, I'm getting demonetized. And a lot of these people, that is their entire revenue stream.
That's the dangerous thing, is that people sort of get in line.
Yeah.
They get in line.
Self-censoring.
Yeah. Self-censoring, exactly it. That's almost more frightening.
It's self-centering for somebody to sit there and say, I'm upset by this thing, and now everyone else has to stop talking about that thing. I find that so arrogant and so selfish. Look, I've gone through a history of violence and stuff like that. My teeth got knocked out of my mouth, Craig, at school. Like, I've been punched and kicked and spat on. But I don't look at a bully in a movie and sit there and start crying, going, this is about me. Yeah. This movie has to be banned now because they're showing what I went through.
Yeah.
It's selfish. It's arrogant. It's putting yourself in the center of a universe that revolves around you. I'm sorry, but my parents have raised me constantly telling me the world does not revolve around you, boy. constantly my whole life. Everything seems to boil down to arrogance, a self-centeredness, as well as a self-censoring. It's a self-centeredness that, you know, someone will go into a theater and then get up and make a big scene and walk out because there was a gay character in that play. And, well, I don't want to have to watch that. So they're going to make a scene. And this has happened in the UK, apparently. Who knows if it's true or not? It was during Rent. Who is going to see Rent and thinking, oh, there's gay people in this show, I need to walk out? Like, what? Do your freaking research, people. But my point is, like...
Does that happen? That happened?
Apparently in the UK, an usher tweeted about it that someone walked out of the production of Rent because they don't want to see gay people. And I didn't know gay people were in this show.
Good luck avoiding gay characters.
Yeah.
In this day and age, in general.
It just shows that that person thinks the world revolves around them, that the show needs to cater to them. Again, fuck off. Seriously, fuck off.
It's also in the language. If you think about it, people talk about it's tolerance. It's called tolerance.
Yeah.
To tolerate is to, okay, somebody is doing something that doesn't follow your impulse, whether it's sex, whether it's deciding that they are not the gender that that they were born into, whatever it is. People, as long as they're not hurting anybody else or even asking them to alter their own lifestyle in accordance to serve them. I don't get it. I understand it, but it's called tolerance. If you're going to hold your hand over a flame, then you're tolerating the flame. If you're going to sit with somebody who lives a different lifestyle than you tolerate the difference, which you might find like, well, that's not the way I would live. Then in order to have a conversation and join somebody who has a different lifestyle than you're going to have to tolerate the feelings that come up until the feelings of friendship or community take over. And that's the part that doesn't get discussed. Mm-hmm. It's not tolerate like you sit there like you're just on fire every time you're sitting next to somebody who lives different. You tolerate it so that feeling goes away.
Yeah. And
then you realize, oh, they're just human beings. There's nothing scary going on. No one's going to try and make me do something I don't want to do, And by the way, if you think that because you're doing this and putting them in that position, that they're not making the same jokes about you.
Yeah.
And all it does is distance all of us. And in my country, it's just
it's a clusterfuck.
It's a clusterfuck because it's almost like people are just deciding, okay, I'm going to believe that the sky is orange.
Yeah.
And I get it. There are a lot of people having a lot of trouble. The country's so screwed up economically and in so many ways. And there are a lot of people in a certain region of the country where they're really hurting. And so when a politician or a non-politician, even better, comes along and makes all these promises, like it's the Music Man, it is the Music Man.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a crook. He's fine with himself being a crook. People who know him, know that he's a con man and a crook, and he's just a shell of a human being. And now all of this stuff is happening. I don't know if you're following it over there, but he's, the closest they've ever got to getting him dead to rights and putting him away. But he's so good at promotion that he gets ahead of the news and he makes announcements and he drives the narrative and he gets all of these people who just want to be able to put food on the table. And then they're all darker things, live in a neighborhood that's, all one color and looks like Disneyland or whatever their idea of America is. And we end up going back in time to service these people. And we've lost so much as a country. And it comes down to our ability to tolerate.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very sad. And so quite frankly, I wasn't going to go see the Music Man if that's what they've done to it. I have so much affection for this show. And I just didn't want to see it denuded like that, beaten up.
It's funny you're bringing up, infrastructure and the economy, listening to the album, and there's a song, Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
I thought it was Gary in Diana, and I thought that was the sex scene.
No, it's not we're not always having sex with women,
There's a town called Gary in Indiana.
Oh.
I only know of Gary, Indiana, because of what has happened to it.
Yeah, it's grim.
It is literally falling to pieces. Because they built this whopping great freeway basically straight over it. And, anyone who lives under it it's rooted. The town's broke, nothing works. The sidewalks are crumbling, literally. And I've done this recently, funnily enough. There's a YouTube channel where they do drive-throughs of neighborhoods to show, what's happening. And the amount of neighborhoods, and Gary is one of the worst, even in just places like Chicago, where they'll go down a street and every second house is just gone. Like it's got foreclosed at some time, at point in the 70s or 80s or whenever it was, and it's just crumbled. And of course, a lot of them wood frame houses. So there's literally just empty fields and no one's rebuilt. And it's just so jarring to see when, you could drive around Australia and like, we build on everything. Every block of land has a house or a business on it. There's nothing empty.
But there's literally a whole fucking desert in between us, Evan, that they've not built
and we
on.
have crews of workers who weed the paths and do the landscaping, and the roads are always patched, and we get one pothole and we're annoyed, but it's fixed the next day.
Oh, it's okay.
And you've got entire cities in America that are just being left to their own devices. It's nuts.
No, we're on the decline.
Like your bridges are falling down. Come on.
It's gotten worse. My grandfather was a very successful businessman, and he was a Republican, but Republicans were different then. It was about, it's low. They would be fighting for lower taxes, but it was more like, it wasn't about lower taxes, especially. It was about stay out of my business.
Yeah. Republican classic. Big business, small government, fiscal responsibility.
Yeah. Give us the freedom to grow. Exactly. We had a bishop over here when my mom married. My mother was born Jewish, so she converted to Catholicism to marry my dad. There was a bishop here named Bishop Fulton Sheen. He was very big. This was in the 50s. And he was so big in New York, he used to have a TV show that would go against the biggest show in the country on Sunday nights. And in New York, it would beat the Milton Berle show.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And he would go up against that. And all he was very charismatic. He used to read, but he also used to talk to the audience. Very nice guy. And so he was the guy who converted my mom, which meant that she had to go in and meet him once a week, and he would tutor her, come down to the vestments and all that. And they had a really nice relationship. And he said, you can always ask me anything. And then this is in the 50s. And she said, what's going on with abortion? And this is the 1950s. The Bishop of New York, who went to be the cardinal, he turned out to be a cardinal before he died. He said, it's a football. It's a political football. Don't even pay attention to it. Well, little did he know that was going to be the driving force of all politics. It really was a non-issue for a long time. And now someone like Trump or, really that whole movement that has nothing to do with being Republican, nothing to do with politics. They find an angry group and they have a cause. Like in my family, we have a gay marriage, and we have a priest in our family showed up to the wedding and sat there with a Bible. It's like, don't come to the wedding.
Oh, right. He was objecting.
Yeah, like quiet, like I'm here.
That's like wearing a cross when you see vampires. It's to protect him.
It's not that far away from that. Yeah.
I think you can squarely put a lot of blame purely on Mitch McConnell's head.
He's a terrible, yes.
He has been working towards Republican judges for decades. You saw with blocking Obama's appointments and then just barreling through Trump's.
They just want to win.
Yeah.
They just want to win.
They just want to defeat the dastardly left wing. They don't want the left wing to have anything nice. So anytime the left wing get a success, it's a tear it down. That's what it is. It's just left wing versus right wing bullshit.
They started manipulating language like they did with abortion.
Yeah.
Like they actually think they're saving lives. Meanwhile, it's the George Carlin routine, but it's like, they'll protect the child, but the minute you turn 18, you're on your own, pal.
Yeah.
You're going to have to fight for us. It's the sanctity of life is all a bunch of crap. It's crap.
Even with the phrasing, the pro-life. No, you're not pro-life. You're anti-abortion.
Yeah.
They put that moniker on themselves to make it sound better.
That I know the tactics. Sorry, I'm friends with lots of them. Because tolerance. I tolerate people despite disagreeing with them strongly. But I saw a photo of a baby shoot, place your baby in this box if you don't want it. And all I could hear was attend the tale of Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, what is that?
That's all I imagine is people putting their fucking babies in there and then suddenly they're getting chopped up into fucking meat pies. Oh my God, world, what are we doing? What are we doing with ourselves?
Well, that's the kind of crap we have people who will actually make an entire community believe that. And that community is Texas. You know,
I know.
it's really
I know,
crazy.
It's so sad. Anyways, we've gone so far off track.
We've gone far afield. Let's get back to Pippin. Come on.
Pippin.
On our way back to Pippin.
Goodness, yeah, so we are in the Music Man. Evan,
Yeah.
quickly go on because way overboard.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of watching Matthew Broderick again in
Yeah.
a musical.
When I saw that you weren't, did you even audition for that? Did they get you into screen test? Or
No.
Are you
That
serious?
no. It was. I didn't see it because I have such a soft spot for the play that I always thought I'll go back to River City if I ever have a son or if I do a revival. But other than that, I don't want to go back. It means too much. That was such a great time in my life, a special time. And I actually knew Matthew, and I told him, I said, I'm not going to watch it and he totally got it. He was very kind. I said, I just didn't want you to think that I wasn't saying anything, but I'm not going to watch it because I don't want to go back there. I don't want to go back there. It means to, and he totally got it. But at least they did it. They sang the words, from what I understand, and they didn't correct it.
No.
You know.
Yeah, no, it's only recently it's been corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Evan.
Yeah. So go ahead, Evan. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. So as usual, I listened to it as an album first, and then watched the Matthew Broderick. What year was that?
Would have been 2001 or something.
3, yeah.
And yeah, they really did nail the nostalgic look, considering how new it is. I had to double check, that it was only 20 years old, not 40, 50 years old. The costumes, the filming.
Well, you can't tell with Matthew Broderick because he looks the same bloody age.
Yeah. Well, he's eternal, isn't he?
I haven't seen it, so I can't say, but I can say that the one with Robert Preston, the original movie, is fantastic.
Yeah, I saw some clips. I didn't get a chance to watch both of them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually it's the other way around. This is an opposite one. I like the show more than the music. I think it's a bit too much barbershop.
Yeah.
Barbershop, I can only take in small doses.
Yeah.
And appreciate it. But when it's 3 or 4 barbershop-y type pieces in it, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. There's a reason why people don't do barbershop anymore. It just rubs people the wrong way.
Also, everything in that show, it's the closest to perfect show I've ever seen. And it's the Great American Musical, they call it. And it's a great story. It's got no fat on it. And when the barbershop quartet, they're like the local school board and all that kind of stuff. And it's his way of getting rid of them. So it's really funny.
Yeah.
There's actually a dramatic reason for them. So every time they show up, you're laughing more than you're listening because it's so funny that these guys who were always arguing, he's put together and taught them how to harmonize. Yeah. And so he's really having an effect on this town that he doesn't even understand, And that's part of the magic of the play, I think, But anyway, to listen to the album is different than to actually experience what he's doing. And I think it comes across in the movie really well.
Yeah, it does. I was watching it going, oh, he's going to get you again. He's going to distract you again. Look, there he goes.
Yeah.
And again, Matthew Broderick's just a classic. Loved him in The Producers.
Yeah, he's great.
The movie is really good. I've seen some stills from the Hugh Jackman production, and that all looks really on point, the costumes. Some people were complaining about the ages of them. You've got Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster Sutton Foster's supposed to be, the sister of the little boy who's 10, and her mother's not much older than Sutton, so it doesn't seem to work. But I think people are being picky.
Yeah,
it's actors playing a character. It doesn't matter if they look 25 anymore. We don't care that Hugh Jackman's not 25.
Yeah.
You're literally watching a lit up box. You're already suspending your belief.
Yeah. But no, I realized I did like the story. I was about 20 minutes in going, I can see this coming a mile away. I assumed that Harold Hill would, fall in love with the librarian and, stay in the town and live happily ever after. But, he kept up the con right up into handcuffs. That was great.
Oh, thanks for spoiling it. I haven't seen the last 5 minutes. No, honestly, I haven't. I had to pause it.
I did like the fact that they threw a curveball in there and he really didn't change whatsoever. I do wonder, though, is the Simpsons monorail episode based on this?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Conan O'Brien wrote the monorail episode.
That makes sense. They also didn't they do a Planet of the Apes? They did Planet of the Apes where he sings kind of a version of Trouble too, from chimpanzee to chimpanzee.
Yeah, I'm sure it's based on it. Has to be.
It is. The episode borrows some elements from The Music Man.
Yeah.
The monorail song strongly resembling You Got Trouble. Very much so. So well done, Evan.
Right.
Yay.
Well spotted.
But yeah, a lot of my comments we already covered. Like I was surprised how many songs I did know from it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And yeah, obviously, but I only know it from things like Family Guy.
The guy who runs the Family Guy, loves that show.
I know. I've invited him onto this podcast like 10 times, Craig. He won't respond. He has like 6 million followers, so I'm not surprised.
Whatever.
One day we will get him on. Anyways.
You could spend a lot of time listening to all the different cast recordings and watching all the different movies and
yeah.
I don't know if there's pro shots around or bootlegs or
No, there's not.
But I did see some clips from the current stage show, and it does look pretty grand and well done. Well, it should be. But yeah, and again, it reminded me of Hello Dolly a lot. That kind of musical that sort of just keeps getting done over and over and over, and everyone seems to know except me.
Well, it's also, there's some shows that are very American. Like there was talk of doing a production in the UK, and I think they've tried it before, and it never plays there. I think some stuff is just regional, I mean, I'm sure there's entertainment that, a lot of stuff that's strictly Australian. It's not it's not, it's made for Australians.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of stuff I would, by definition not be in. But I think I always thought it was pretty universal, but it really is steeped in American, it has this really American feel. So I can see why it might not play anywhere else, which it's sort of, it always does well here, but I don't know that it would play anywhere else.
I think we might have had like a concert or semi-staged version in Melbourne, a professional one.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Yeah, those annoy me because they're always priced the same as a proper production. You're just not getting...
Yeah, and they're just standing there.
Yeah. I had never heard this show until we did this episode. So this has been a learning experience for me too.
Oh.
I knew Shapoopy from Family Guy, and I knew Till There Was You from The Wedding Singer, because Ellen Albertini Dow sings it in that. I believe she sings it in that. Either way, I did know that song. I knew 76 Trombones because my granddad had an old electric organ and he had a book of musical theatre songs. So there'd be like Singing in the Rain and there was 76 Trombones. So I knew that one. And I knew the Wells Fargo wagon from Romy Michelle's high school reunion where Lisa Kudrow goes, "Oh, I love The Music Man." And then she sings it. "Oh, the Wells Fargo wagon is a coming down the street."
Right.
So that's my only knowledge of The Music Man my whole life. I had gone this far. And like I've said it before, I grew up on Rocky Horror and like Hair and Grease and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yet I missed out on family stuff. I don't know why I'd never seen it. And I don't know if it is for that reason that it's steeped in Americana.
Maybe. It might be part of that. But it's also, it's big, but it's kind of a quaint musical. They do it at all the high schools here. Like all the high schools always do it. I mean, and everybody does it. But it's, so there's some of that, but I think also it's right before musical theater changed and they were doing stuff like Hair. They were doing stuff like music. And it was a little bit more chaste, and then everything changed with Hair. And the first show I ever saw was part of that second wave, like, Pippin. I saw Pippin, and that's actually pretty dark.
Yeah.
At least the original production was really dark. And I think there was a version of it that they sent out into the world that wasn't quite so much.
Pippin is, it's quite surreal. And they did do a pro shot of that, but they cut out like 10, 20 minutes of it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
it was amazing because the first musical I saw was a musical that deconstructed musicals. So I sort of, even as a kid, just sort of like, it sort of that musical trains you to look at musicals and just go, that's all phony. I love that play.
Yeah. Now this was your Broadway debut, and you weren't before this, you weren't known for musicals. Is this still your most tiring job today?
Tiring or tiresome?
Either one.
Well, that would have to leave to other people. No. I think the most tiring was, there was something about it. I'd go and do that play, and it's 8 shows a week, and it's a lot. And but no matter how bad or tired I felt, if it was towards the end of the week, the minute you heard the music, and of course getting a crowd going, it was fantastic. It was such a great experience.
Yeah.
That it just sort of, it went so quickly. But I think the tiring was anytime you play an athlete and they're actually showing the athletic event, like, and you have to go through the motions of, someone who's a professional athlete and train.
Yep.
So when I did this movie, Cinderella Man, with your countryman, Russell Crowe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we had to train. We went, I trained for like 6 months to do that. And it was, I loved it. But it wasn't easy, but that was much more tiring.
Oh, there you
There
go.
you go.
Well, I think by now he knows the territory, so we're going to go to an ad break before Evan poopies his pants. G'day, listeners. Aaron here. While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistantales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. After barely 3 hours of light sleep, Toniston Turnbull slowly opens his eyes, his body feeling heavier than it ever has before. Not from extra weight, from tiredness and stress. Polly sighs in the shadows behind him, the flame of the nearest barbed wire tiki torch tower having died down, but not out, while Toniston napped. "Are you awake?" Toniston whispers. "Oh, how can I sleep in this place?" Polly moans, turning onto her side and facing Toniston, who stays on his back, imagining obscure animal-esque shapes in the rusted tin roof above them, shadows faintly formed by the nearest dying torches. "We need to work out a way to get out of here," Toniston states the obvious. He whispers despite the fact the nearest shacks to their own are several meters away, and the occupants presumably asleep, as most prisoners seem to be. "How? There's no fence to squeeze through, or even climb," Polly replies, sitting up in bed and then stretching out her sore arms. The hairs stand on end from the slight chill in the air. "I don't know, but I think the whole fighting thing is a distraction." "You mean to distract the other prisoners when new ones arrive?" "No, I think that was just bad timing. Didn't you notice?" Toniston goes on to explain his theory. "That fight happened, everybody gathered around. I didn't see one person who wasn't watching, and then when I vomited, the only gate in this place closed shut." "What are you trying to say?" "I think something happened when everyone's back was turned." "Like what?" whispers Polly, her voice breaking up in fear. "I don't know. That's what we've got to find out." Toniston's brain starts working overtime. "But it's strange that nobody seems to want to leave. They seem almost happy. Definitely content. So, when's the next one of those stupid beatdowns?" Toniston can't help but think Polly looks tough, almost evil in the shadows as she asks. "I don't know," Toniston begins. But both teenagers are distracted by a crumbling noise in the distance. Hopping out of bed, Toniston joins Polly on her own, equally uncomfortable one, spotting a large, white package hovering close to the cave ceiling, behind it a shadowy figure. The package is lowered down, causing the teenagers themselves to lower as well, hoping not to be spotted by whom or what may be operating this obscure crane. Over a long, slow descent, the package is dropped to the ground. Polly keeps her eyes on it, but Toniston looks up immediately, spotting a large black shadow scurry away to God only knows where. "Come," he whispers, as he quietly hops off her bed, slipping into his docks with bare feet. Polly follows his lead. Careful to keep watch on all directions, the teenagers swiftly sneak over to the white package, their hearts beating an almost tribal jam in perfect harmony, and stopping in their tracks as the sudden realization of what lies before them sinks in. A woman, seemingly in her early 20s, wrapped up in bandages from the neck down. No, not bandages. "Is that spider web?" Polly asks, completely mortified at the prospect. Grab your copy of The Toniston Tales from thetonistantales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! Anyways, we're back with Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron, that's Evan, and we are joined by the phenomenal Craig Bierko. Now, did you ever hear from Tom Cruise's people about your impersonation of him? No, they didn't try to sue?
No. Well, no. Well, the first thing is it's not supposed to be Tom Cruise. Like nobody ever said imitate Tom Cruise. They didn't want to, nor would I be interested in something like that. Also, those guys, I mean, this is the crew that did like Airplane and all those Naked Gun and stuff like that. These guys were the originators of it. So there are a lot of people who got that style wrong, but they sort of invented it. And they have a whole what they call a Bible. It's all the rules that you can't break. There's a way to do it. There are rules. And so I got like training in that. And one of the things that they do is rather than cross the line and offending people, they invent the line and then they cross it, but they're well within the margins of being offensive. Good taste is not necessarily, or bad taste, is questionable, but offending somebody they don't want to do. So the fact a lot of what was happening with Tom Cruise, I think you could trace back to his involvement with Scientology. They will not make fun of another person's religion. So there was a very funny scene based on a conversation he had with one of our journalists here. And it was very funny, but it implied that he believed in something, that wasn't quite right. And they were making fun of it. And as funny as the scene was, they wouldn't do it. Somebody else had written the script and they were just like, no, we're not going to do that. Yeah. But the scene with him jumping on the couch, that wasn't necessarily about religion. That was about
Katie,
Katie Holmes. For whatever it was, he was fully present. He wasn't like, out of his mind on something. And he just made his own choice to behave that way. Mm-hmm. And I think, I think someone like he's very savvy. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that stuff was he's a very smart person from what I understand. And he really understands what being a movie star is all about. I have a lot of trouble believing that he completely lost control of himself. But what he did was really funny. And it was the talk of everybody was talking about it, which is a lot of what it comes down to. And therefore, it was ripe to make fun of. But it was never supposed to be him or about his beliefs. And the director, David Zucker, he said he never does this, but there are two scenes in that movie where he just let me improvise. And we had so much fun. It was that and the car locking scene when the tripods are coming. Yep. And it's timing it with the guy to get into the car. There's like a 10-minute version of that scene, but they just keep going. Yeah. But that thing where he just let me run around and he had the Oprah there was, we were going to break her wrist. That was all fixed. But the other stuff, like me punching myself, we just came up with like on the fly. It was so fun. And has nothing to do with Tom Cruise. So there was no reason he would ever call me or I'd ever, find myself beaten up by, a rogue team. Yeah.
No cease or desist. Yeah. You've done comedy, drama, sci-fi, horror, and action, plus thrillers and musicals, obviously. Is there a genre you're keen to dive into? Like we're going to see you in the Wild West or something, hopefully?
I'd love to do some. Man, do you guys get Westworld there? You get Westworld, don't you?
Yeah, sure.
I love it. I love that show. I'm pretty lost, but I mean, it's really complicated, but I like it. I love Westerns. I like to work. So it's funny that you get known for whatever you're introduced to the public as. And I think at that point, Music Man was by far the biggest thing I had done. And then I've always been kind of light and fun, easy to get along with. And I'm not confrontational, but it just so happens that, I did a movie where I play a bad guy. And for a long time and it's helped me a lot that I don't end up playing, a leading man or, I like playing the bad guy. And actually thought, oh, that's too bad. I'm never going to get a chance to do that. But I got cast in this thing and it changed everything. So there's nothing that it's funny for musicals. I do them. I enjoy them. I don't really like to go see them very much. It has to be really great for me to go see it because I get bored really, really easily. And it's not like, everything has to live up to a certain, it's not like that. I just, it's very funny to me I did a lot of musicals growing up in high school, but it wasn't necessarily what I saw myself doing. It just came along. I auditioned for it and I got it. And then all of a sudden that's what people know you for. And they just assume that's the only thing you do.
Yeah. You've been working for 13 years before then, sitcoms and all that. So
I just keep switching it up. If something's really different, I kind of embrace it and just go, good, now they'll know me for this and it'll screw with them. Anyway, I like to just work.
Yeah, don't we all? But okay, how important or necessary is diplomacy between friends in this industry? So for you, how do you approach this?
this is already, it can be a stressful business, and it's all built in, getting on stage. If you think about it, you're getting up in front of people who are paying money to stare at you. You better be interesting. You better come up with the goods. So if you stop and think about it, it's crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Who would do that? But that's what we do. So to make it sort of a workable thing for me, I found that I really needed to aggressively kind of cut out anybody's opinion.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of actors, but not everyone, and not everyone needs to do this. But for me, I'd never read reviews. I don't want to hear about them, the good or the bad ones, just not any of my business. And that's the way I look at it. And the only person I really care about pleasing is the director. It's their vision. Whoever's directing the play, that's the person that I keep going back to, and myself, and then if I'm on stage with somebody, I mean, there's kind of an unwritten rule that you never talk to another actor and just say, hey, you go through the director, and the director talks, or the stage manager. There's a way to do it. And so you don't rile anybody. People, it's very scary, and it's people have different ways of dealing with the tension. And the last thing you want to be in a play is a piece of bad news that, they're just sort of, you're the guy who's said this horrible thing to somebody, and it wasn't even what you intended. They always go through people whose job it is to direct the other person, and just that seems simple to me. So it's just a couple of simple rules. I really don't ask people when they come backstage like what they thought, if they want to say something. And then you have to fight the urge, it'll feel like, oh, it was really great last night, and tonight I wasn't. It doesn't look any different.
No.
It's a feeling.
You should have been there last night. Yep, we hear that a lot.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And actually what was said to me was it's if you do that, it's insulting to the person, because they've just said that they really like you. And you said, I wish you could have seen it last. You're kind of insulting their, it's good news. They liked it. Shut up. That's where you find out like why people are doing this. They're doing it because they want to be praised, and they want to be lifted up and be more important than, which is really tempting. I can't say it's not why I didn't come into the business, women and impressing people and cutting corners. And the big joke with show business is you're actually adding corners. They're extra corners. So I just like to keep it really simple, and everything that was really special to me and made it seem like it was different than it was, I've just sort of cut out along the way. Yeah. And I deprive myself of this stuff that is only going to end up being disappointing anyway. Making other people's opinions too important is a dangerous thing.
Yeah, no, I can.
Yeah.
I just think we invest too much if we don't allow our friends to be honest with us.
Yeah.
I think that's a kind of a almost bullying place to be, that you're literally saying to your closest friends that they have to change their opinions because your feelings might be hurt. I mean, you're only one cog in a machine of a show, and the audience is seeing a portion of that whole machine. So that's what they're judging it on. So it is just their opinion. They're going to not be right or wrong because it is just their opinion. So I do think you're probably right in just cut it all out and not worry about it, because some people I think do worry too much.
Yeah. I think so. And also at the same point, like it doesn't matter what I think. So if I'm going to go back and see somebody, I can always find something that I genuinely got out of it, Yeah. And if they ask you, then you can be honest and say, I didn't really get the play, but let's wait till we're out of the theater, to talk about it. But 9 times out of 10, nobody wants to hear it, and nobody really wants to say it. So if I never really got people they go backstage to say, I didn't get it. What were you doing? I don't get it.
Maybe not right after the show.
No.
Actors are just coming down at that point. But anyways, we'll move on. What's your weirdest party trick?
I don't go to many parties. So my weirdest trick is that I don't go to many parties. That's my party trick. I maintain friendships and avoid parties. I'm not I go every once in a while, but I always have to be dragged.
Yeah.
I like being home.
Yeah.
So it really has to be something special for me to go.
Yeah. Now, look, your Jack Nicholson impersonation was pretty good, so we'll say it's that. Anyways, just 2 more questions. Who would be in your VH1 Divas Live lineup?
Oh, just stewardesses from the late 60s, early 70s. They don't even have to sing or anything. Just those, the high white boots and the white lipstick and blonde frosted hair. I really don't. I'm not very demanding.
Lastly, I don't know if everyone's got any questions, but what's been your relationship with standing ovations over time?
Well, Susan Stroman is such a good director that she actually would make it necessary for the audience to stand up at the end of Music Man. We got a standing ovation almost every night. The show was enough to take on, especially the way that she directed. A lot of dancing, a lot of moving. It was a very, very well-directed show. And then about a weekend, she said, okay, we're all going to be taking trombone lessons after rehearsal every day. We had to learn the trombones. We came in after the play, and after we took our bows, we came in and played 76 trombones.
Wow.
And it was really funny. And we had to go through what the kids in the show went through. And it really hit the audience, and they just went nuts when they saw us actually playing. It was really great. And most plays, they don't stand up. There was sort of the age of standing up where everybody would get a standing ovation. And it was sort of like getting a trophy in Little League.
Yeah, participation.
Just for participation award. And this last show, we got a standing ovation pretty much. I think we got it every night. And I was like, this is for the show. All we did was like get out of the way and not fuck it up. I mean, we delivered the message. So I suppose but the message we were delivering was Bob Dylan and Conor McPherson. I mean, pretty great. And it was completely moving. And so I don't, if you make it about standing ovations, I don't know. And if I'm seeing somebody in something and the play is really good, I will definitely stand up. I stand up. I try to be shameless about it. Yeah, I'll stand up.
What if everyone else is standing up and you didn't feel it? Do you stand up to be nice?
No, those people should be shot. You might as well just go, didn't care for it. Sorry, didn't care for it. Like anybody gives a shit. That's basically what you're saying. I've seen that before. Like, they're giving a standing ovation. You really have to go. I mean, I would sit there and go, okay, this is funny because they're all standing and this is what you sort of dreamed of when you're a little kid. But I'm going to get back in that car and realize the relationship with so-and-so is still within 10 minutes. I'm going to be upset about something. Life goes on. They're like, yeah, but why isn't she calling? What the hell's going on? I'll be upset about, real life. And I remember making that connection during Music Man and going, this is not it. This isn't it. This is great. But this isn't the end. If this is what people are shooting for, and there are plenty of people who are, I'm like, no, I don't think this is it. It's part of it. It's great. And and there should be a high watermark. But if you're like, I didn't get the ribbon, I got to blow my head off, So my relationship with standing ovations is whatever. Also is, I know how hard it is to get out there night after night and do something. And if everybody else I don't know, I just go by myself. If I really am moved by something and I feel like I want to stand up and let people know, I'll shout bravo, bravo. I love those people who do that. It means a lot, you've gotten to somebody, and it's very encouraging. But I don't like to I don't do it. It's all the same stuff. Like, I think you could just do something because everybody else is doing it.
Yeah.
But I think if everybody stands, just stand up. Don't be the guy.
Oh, no, I am that guy.
You are that guy.
Yeah. And you're right. Like, it should be a high watermark. And that's what I just feel like that watermark has been sedated a little bit. That's all.
Yeah.
I know we're in a post-COVID world, though. So everyone's just excited to be out of the house. So, okay, I'll give us a year.
That's right. That's right. It's different.
Yeah. So, anyways, questions, Evan? You got any, or did we?
Yeah. Well, it was more a comment. I just find it's a great honor to speak to someone who's in one of my favorite films of all time, 13th Floor.
Oh, great.
I will recommend that when someone goes, what should I watch? Give me something interesting to watch. Go watch 13th Floor.
I saw it at the movies years ago.
You would have been young.
No, I'm 37 now.
Yeah, there was a random one that I've picked up at the video shop. I think it would have still been on VHS. Yeah, it's one of those lesser known classics.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. Picked it at random, just went, oh, what's this? I knew nothing about it. And absolutely love that film.
There are a lot of people who are discovering it now. That's the great thing about this age now, is that everything sticks around for a while. So if it doesn't make its mark at the theater, doesn't disappoint, and disappear. But yeah, it's great. And God, Vincent D'Onofrio, I mean, he's fantastic in that movie. And I don't know if you're watching it, but I've been watching Westworld. I really like it. And this week I went, oh God, I think somebody on this show is aware. Like, there's something happened that was right out of that movie.
Right.
Although that genre is, I mean, a lot are similar, but there was a turn. I just thought, well, there's so much going on in Westworld, I can't keep track of it. But Yeah, it's just sort of it's people are kind of finding it now. It's kind of cool. I still can't explain it. My mother doesn't understand it. Haven't successfully explained it to my mom, but well, that'll happen one of these days. I'm glad you liked it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's one of those ones that stuck with me.
Yeah, me too.
To this day, I will recommend people to watch it.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
I need to ask this. Do you get sick of people asking you about Chandler, about turning down Chandler?
No, I don't know. It's the same old story. No. It's the same old story. Well, most people are like, "Oh God, how did you?" It's like, yeah. When I read the script, I read another one I liked more.
Yeah.
No, I liked it. Yeah, I just, and nobody comes up to you and says this one is going to go, the other one's not. It doesn't. You just read a script and you go with what you. When I read it, I thought it was very funny, but I liked the other one better. The other one was a little bit. It was different. And Friends, when it came out, I was a big fan of Seinfeld, and I just thought it's sort of Seinfeld light. It doesn't, and I like Seinfeld because Seinfeld's actually kind of nastier. They're all sociopaths.
Oh yeah.
Nobody says I love you. In fact, Larry David said, "No one's going to say I love you. No one's going to learn anything. And if you want me to fucking walk, I'm not interested." And the only reason he was like that was because he was like when they picked up the show, he's like, "Now I got to write 13 of these." No, there's no please. He's basically George, you know.
Yeah.
I just thought it's not Seinfeld, and it's one of those shows it's trying to be, and it ended up being successful. But you can't predict that.
No.
I'm good friends with Matthew Perry, and to be honest, it's so beautifully cast that you have to kind of step back and go, "This was meant to be. This, it should have been this. Like it's great." Yeah. And I never really had this feeling of like, well, I could have been a Beatle. Like it's not that at all.
And I said that, I think I said it to Evan, that I predicted that you would probably be better off not being tied down to.
Well, that does happen.
And it was successful, but it was massive. It was so huge. And all 6 of those lives changed remarkably. Their choices changed. The things they were getting changed.
It's a long life, and you have to realize that there's going to be the second act of your life, and what's going to happen if you're perceived a certain way. And a lot came for them, which is really, really great. I won't deny that they're, it would be easier to have like, $80 million in the bank, but that's money, and that's anything. And it really wasn't like a decision you made to not have that. It was based on what information you're given, which is that when the future of it was like that, but that. So you have to, I have to give people, I had to learn to sort of like, it's tolerance actually, because people like, how did you turn that down? It's like, well, you don't turn it down knowing what it's going to be. Nobody would turn that. And if you knew the actor, it's just that most people don't talk about it. But if you knew the people big stars who turned down like Star Wars, because they're like, well, I don't want to do a stupid thing like that. Big stars who are like, what the fuck was I thinking? It's like, that's kind of sad to me. It's like, but you're this guy. Also, I don't think it's nice to go around saying I'm the guy who was originally offered that. I didn't tell anybody until Matthew said so.
Oh, really?
Like I used to go on Conan O'Brien's show. I don't know if you guys got it. Did you get it there?
Oh, I love Conan.
Was that a big? Yeah. I used to go on his show and they would say, tell the friend story. And I was like, because I tell it in a funny way, but I just said, I can't do that until Matthew tells it first. And he finally did tell it. And I went, okay, now I can tell it. And I did. And it's just part of who I am. I'm sure it'll be in my obituary, and that's okay. And it's also good if you're a comic actor to have I call it like a Jack Benny violin, something that makes you in the audience's perception, like an extra weight that you're carrying. They can relate to you. Oh, he's got this thing he's carrying around. That's fine. I can use that. The truth is I wouldn't be able to joke about it if it was something that I even thought about. I mean, now I don't even think about.
Sorry to bring it up then.
No.
No, actually, my wife actually asked me this question, like, how does he feel about the Chandler thing? And I went, well, if he had taken the role, he wouldn't have taken all these other roles, and you would be forever seen as Chandler. Like, I don't know if that's an envious position.
No, it doesn't necessarily happen. talent rises. I mean, the thing is that I knew Matthew probably like 4 or 5 years before that show came along. And he's as funny as Chandler is. Matthew's funnier. Matthew's funnier than that. He's just really, really funny. And it was a very unique way of performing. And that was right on for the part. I bought a lot of that into the audition. And all it was just a big compliment of like, yeah, they wanted me to do this and it wasn't right for me, and you don't get all the information. But yeah, it's hard to explain because I think people who aren't in the business just think, whoa, you had this thing. It doesn't work like that. You have opportunities. I think it would be different with like, oh, what would have been hard is if you do it and then you get fired after trying as best you can. It wasn't what I wanted at the time.
Yeah, like Eric Stoltz in Back to the Future.
That's hard. And I know him and he's fine. I'm sure it was difficult. I didn't know him then, but I'm sure it was difficult. I also knew a guy at college when I went to Northwestern, which is in Chicago, outside of Chicago. And it was between Michael J. Fox and my buddy for that role. And I remember he was nervous. He was sweating all the time, waiting to find out because he thought he might get this thing. And it didn't work out for him. And he's fine. He works. He does stuff. It's just it's your job. You go and you grab for things. But I'm also a fatalist. I think things work out the way they're supposed to. I know people on Friends, and I also know people who've done, they're even richer and more successful. And it doesn't necessarily make them happier people. It really, really doesn't. There's a lot that comes with that too that people don't like to think about. And some of it might have to do with like, okay, now it's 20 years later and now what? That shows in reruns, people are still seeing you that way. It's another burden. And if you think about it, other than Jennifer Aniston other than Jennifer Aniston, you really don't see the other ones very much. It's not a ticket to the rest of your life.
When you say you like to work and you're not seeing a lot of David Schwimmer.
He's directing a lot now, though.
Oh yeah,
he's very talented. And actually, I went to school with David, and I remember that was the part I wanted. I thought if I do it, that's the part. At the beginning, it seemed like that's the star of the show. That and he and Rachel were the stars of the show. It was the way the pilot was written. And I just thought, yeah, that's going to be an interesting role. David's going to be great in it. And they said, well, how about Chandler? And I read for it, and I felt like it felt great, but I wanted to do this other thing, which was also really funny, but it was the timing. I just really felt like, oh, everything's working out the way that it should. Just step back and let things happen.
Yeah, that's it. I always say that the universe is looking after this show and things will fall into place. But Matthew Perry was doing, I think it was something like 500 AD or 5000 AD. He was a baggage handler in space.
LAX 2000.
That's 2000. That was the sitcom that was on just before Friends. So you not taking the part, got him the part of Chandler, got him out of that awful scene. I think it was a chimpanzee or something
Well, everybody was auditioning for this show. It was called 6 of 1 at that point. It wasn't called Friends. So everybody was auditioning for it. He couldn't because he was doing this show. By the time I said no, and I went on to do this other thing, it opened up and he found out that show wasn't picked up. Yep. And then he could go and do it. It did. That's just sort of worked out.
Yeah. So anyways, we won't keep you any longer. You have been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute honor.
Really great, you guys. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Quickly, where can people find you on the social medias?
Oh, if you want to follow me on Twitter, buzz off. I don't want any followers. I just want some alone time on Twitter. No, I'm at Mr. Craig Bierko.
Yep. So it sounds like Craig.
Yeah.
It sounded like Craig.
Yeah, I heard Craig. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Craig.
Yes.
But same thing for Instagram. And Facebook is just Craig Bierko or Craig Bierko adjacent. I think I've got I think on Facebook you can only have a certain amount of followers. So I have Craig Bierko adjacent.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Which is this. I just make sure that everything goes over there too. Find Distillator and tell me what you think of them, if they're good.
We'll have to do them.
Yeah, that would be awesome. If you have Distillator, have me on. I'll bring my mother on.
Yep. Awesome. Open invitation, Craig. Anytime.
Okay, great. It was nice.
Also, you can catch Craig on Cameo. Check his Twitter for the details. But also, a cause that is close to Craig's heart is the Loma Linda University Children's Hospital. So if you can spare $1 or $2, please help these pioneers of infant heart transplants. Check below for the details where you can send a donation. To you at home, you take care, and we shall see you next time. Hooroo! Awesome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
No, thank you for saying
Oh,
yes.
please, I enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later. Peace.
Like quicksand!